From the New York Post, this article says Indian activist arrested for creating protest toolkit shared by Greta Thunberg. Now, I don't know if you guys have been following this story, but about a week ago, Greta Thunberg tweeted out this activist toolkit in order to cause trouble for the Indian Modi government. This has to do with the farmer protests. And so Greta Thunberg was sent this protest toolkit by this activist group. And instead of tweeting out the lines that she was scripted to tweet out, because we all know that all this stuff is scripted, all this activist stuff is well planned and scripted, instead of Greta tweeting out just the scripted parts that she was instructed to do in this toolkit, this handbook, she tweeted out the whole damn thing. And this toolkit goes into pretty great detail how to cause trouble for the Modi government and for the Indian population. In other words, how to interfere and subvert their daily life, their democracy. And this is serious stuff because, once again, I mean, not only are you interfering in a sovereign nation's internal issues, this activist group, but it shows that all these NGOs and these activists, these NGOs and all these activists, their sole purpose is to cause trouble and to push a country towards some sort of regime change and some sort of color revolution. That is their goal. All these toolkits are well planned, documented roadmaps to regime change, to color revolution, to causing trouble for governments that are deemed by the globalist elite as not bending the knee to the woke ideology. And so if you don't bend the knee and you don't submit to these globalists and their whole world thinking, their whole neoliberal ideology, then they come up with these toolkits and these handbooks. They recruit these young kids who have been indoctrinated, through years of schooling and university. They recruit them to do their dirty work. These people are the foot soldiers. They're the useful idiots. Greta Thunberg and this young girl right here, who I'll get to. They're the useful idiots that get thrown under the bus when they get caught, and they've been caught. And Greta Thunberg she's too young. I think she's 18 now. But she's too young to be mixed up in this stuff. And she made a terrible mistake that will get people arrested. She may even get arrested, but people will be arrested and they will have their lives ruined because these young kids that believe, and they may believe that they're changing the world, they're not. They're causing trouble and they're making things, they're putting lives at risk and they're putting countries in terrible situations by inserting themselves as foreigners, as outsiders, into the internal workings of a country. And it's not going to end well for them. And it's not going to end well for this young lady. And it's not going to end well for Thunberg. These are the useful idiots, the foot soldiers that, when they get caught, the globalists and the elites, they're going to just say, I don't know. Greta who? Greta who? I don't know what you're talking about. And they're just going to, leave her out to dry. So anyway, this is from the New York Post. This is Disha Ravi, an Indian activist who was arrested by police after a protest toolkit was shared online by Greta Thunberg. These protest toolkits, they're devised by these think tanks and these, globalist Soros type of NGOs, and they get these kids to do their dirty work, and it's a terrible thing, and they've been caught, and Greta Thunberg made a terrible mistake, but the masks are off. We now see that all these activists are nothing more than tools for regime change, tools for color revolution. So let's see the article here. Let's get into this story. An Indian activist has been arrested for allegedly making an anti-government protest toolkit that Greta Thunberg accidentally shared online. Disha Ravi, 22, could face up to life in prison following her arrest Sunday in connection to the online document. which calls for organized support for India's deadly farmers' protests. Ravi, a leader of the Indian arm of Thunberg's Fridays for Future protest movement, is being investigated for possible sedition, a charge that carries a penalty of life imprisonment, a police source told Reuters. Telling you, these people are, these kids, they're getting in way over their heads, way in over their heads. Her arrest followed condemnation by India's government over, quote, vested interest groups trying to enforce their agenda, after Thunberg, Rihanna, and Vice President Kamala Harris's niece, Meena Harris, were among those suddenly tweeting their support to the farmers. The world is going to be a much better place when Twitter finally goes away. It's going to save a lot of people's lives. It's going to save a lot of people from future heartache. My God, what a toxic tool. The planning then came to light when 18-year-old Swedish eco-activist Thunberg accidentally tweeted the toolkit link to her 4.9 million followers. Whoopsie. Big, big mistake. It spelled out suggested posts about the ongoing protests, whom to tag, and also demonstrations at Indian embassies that needed highlighting. In other words, color revolution and regime change tactics. That's what she tweeted out. All the tactics that are implemented in order to try and overthrow a government. This is bad. This is bad for Thunberg. This is bad for Ravi. Ravi was the one who shared the toolkit doc with Greta Thunberg. Delhi police insisted on Twitter on Sunday, saying she also started the WhatsApp group that first created the document that she drafted and edited. Later, she asked Greta to remove the main doc after its incriminating details accidentally got into public domain, the police force said. This is bad. Thunberg later deleted her tweet, but not before screenshots were taken and it was widely shared online. A lawyer for Ravi from the Southern District of Bangalore was not immediately available for comment. She was ordered held in custody for at least 5 days. Ravi's detention sparked outrage on social media and among politicians and farm unions. Disha Ravi's arrest is the latest escalation in India's crackdown on free expression and political dissent as it seeks to stifle the farmers' mass protest, said Shashi Tharoor, an MP from the main opposition Congress Party. Tens of thousands of farmers have been hunkering down at the Indian capital's fringes to protest new agricultural laws they say will leave them poorer and at the mercy of corporations. In their most violent clash on January 26, India's Republic Day, hundreds of police officers were injured and a protester died. Scores of farmers were also injured, but officials have not provided more details. After her online mishap sparked outrage, Thunberg tweeted, "I still stand with farmers and support their peaceful protests. No amount of hate, threats, or violations of human rights will ever change that. Police are planning more arrests, including that of a Bombay High Court lawyer who is deemed as absconding," according to the print, who is deemed as absconding. In other words, leaving, not around. So, look, for Thunberg to tweet what she did is fine. I stand with farmers and support their peaceful protest. That's fine. For her to go there and peacefully protest is also fine. For Disha Ravi to go and stand in solidarity with the farmers is also fine. For her to tweet stuff in support of the farmers is fine. For her to mention Greta Thunberg and say, "Hey, Greta, can you tweet to your 4.6 million followers what's going on in India and bring attention to this cause?" That's also fine. The problem is when you tweet documents which provide a roadmap to create instability in the country, to fuel the protests, to fuel violence. That's where you have the problem, and that's what they've been caught doing. Speaking out and freedom of speech and going to the protests and protesting and all these things are encouraged, acceptable, no problem. But when you have more people than two, but when you have a lot of people plotting, openly plotting to cause instability in India, to cause problems for a sovereign state, this is where you have a problem. This is where you have a problem. And when this document got out, It shows that there's this activist, for lack of a better word, this activist collusion, conspiracy that's going on in order to fuel the protests and in order to fuel more violence. This is a problem. This is a problem. It's a problem for Ravi. It's a problem for Thunberg. I imagine that Thunberg is not going to be making a trip to India anytime soon. But you're calling for violence to take place in a country. You're actively promoting it. You're actively encouraging it. You're employing techniques and methods to try and get the protests to escalate. And this is where you're going to run into problems. And this is what they're going to have to deal with now. So, these people, these girls are just too young, and they don't have the life experience to realize that they're getting involved in stuff that they shouldn't be getting involved in. You want to be an activist, fine. You want to go protest, fine. You want to tweet your opinions, fine. You want to tweet your support for certain positions, fine. But don't start plotting and scheming ways to create, more trouble for a sovereign government. Don't, tweet out documents and tweet out methods to create more instability and to fuel the protests and to fuel more instability and more violence. And, stuff like that that's not gonna land you in a good position. Anyway, that's my thought on this. They're in way over their heads here. They're in way over their heads. And all these activist groups, they've taken things beyond activism. They've taken things beyond being just activists and beyond protests. They've now taken the line that not only are we going to protest, but we're just going to burn everything down. That's the line that they've taken now. And the Indian government is not going to have any of it. They're not going to have any of it. So it's a bad situation for Miss Disha Ravi. It's a bad situation for Thunberg. And it's actually pretty embarrassing for Kamala Harris's his niece. It's embarrassing for Kamala Harris's niece. Embarrassing for Rihanna. I mean, geez. What do you guys know about this situation? Why are you getting involved? Why are you putting together toolkits? Anyway, guys. All right, that is the video. Hit that like on your way out, guys. Go to the Duran's main channel. You'll find the link down below. Look for Alexandra's channel as well. You'll find the link down below, and go to the Duran shop. Pick up a cool magic mug to help support this channel, and PayPal, Patreon, Subscribestar, and Bitcoin, because this channel is demonetized. So your help helps me out, helps me to continue reporting the news. Take care.